You ever notice that little voice in your head that's constantly yapping away, throwing up all kinds of random thoughts about your life and your day? Probably thinking right now, I wonder if I should continue to watch this video. Or maybe it's thinking, wow, that guy has a really cool shirt, you know? Or, if you have a more existential type of mind like me, could be thinking about the inevitable heat death of the universe where all humans will die of destruction and death. But seriously, this little voice in your head, your thoughts, are always just yapping all day long. And most of the time they're throwing up some fearful stuff, some self-doubt, some negativity. And have you ever noticed how you don't actually choose what the mind is saying? You could just be walking about, going about your life, maybe at the supermarket, because why not? And the mind all of a sudden just, it's like, hey, what about that thing you said 4 years ago, that super ultra embarrassing thing you said? That was really stupid of you. You're not very charismatic. It'll say all these negative things throughout your day. And what happens is you get sucked into it. You get sucked into the vortex of the mind and you start following it around, right? So a thought might come up and say, I wonder if this means no one will ever love me and everyone will leave me. Well, that's a pretty scary and dramatic thought, isn't it? Most people will be pretty scared for that to happen or to have that thought. So when that thought comes up, you see it and then you start following it around. You start thinking about it. You're like, yeah, I wonder if that could happen. I wonder what would happen if that did happen. How would I deal with it? And then, boom, before you know it, you're creating this entire story, this entire reality in your head that doesn't even exist. And this is happening all day long. But for most humans, it's happening kind of below the level of their conscious awareness. Their attention is getting pulled around all day by all these different types of thoughts. Some may be positive, some may be negative, but most of the time it's talking and telling stories about you, what you're capable of, playing out narratives about yourself, past beliefs. And this following or engaging with the mind isn't just some silly little bad habit. It's actually controlling your entire reality. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the mechanism that's going on under the surface that is causing this, the secret sauce to breaking out of this prison of your mind, and also how you can gain control of this situation so you can direct it in a positive direction. So the first thing to know is what is this mind really, right? This voice in your head that's always yapping all day. What actually is it? Well, thoughts are coming from the brain. And your brain has been programmed with certain beliefs, certain neural pathways, and it has a default software from way back in the day when you were, a caveman hunting in the bushes trying to get food for your family to eat. And this brain of yours, it throws up whatever thoughts matches its program. So the way I like to think of it is that the brain is like a computer. It's called the computer brain, where it doesn't actually have any context. It doesn't know what will help you in life or help you succeed. It is just replaying the same old patterns, neural pathways, and thoughts that you have been engaging with and believing in throughout your life. So for example, if throughout my life I've had a negative belief about myself that I'm not very confident, then of course the thoughts that I think on a daily basis are going to be based around that belief. So when I'm going into social situations and I say something dumb, the mind is going to come in and start beating me up about it. Be like, yeah, see, you suck at social situations. You're not very charismatic. You're not very good at this. And the thing is, these thoughts, they're happening below the level of your conscious awareness. And they're happening automatically without you even choosing them, like I said. And because you identify so severely with these thoughts, like because they have become so close to you and so normal for you to have, you just automatically and blindly start following them and engaging with them and putting your belief into them. And of course, this is extremely normal because your mind or your thoughts, they arise as your voice in your head. And they're talking about you, stories about your life. So of course, it's extremely normal for you to get dragged into them and to really start paying attention to them. So in way of the title of this video, what I'm talking about gaining control over is where your attention is getting dragged into and sucked into. So most people don't even know that they actually have control over which thoughts they give attention to. So you can't control the actual thought itself. If the thought comes up and says, what if you never make it? What if you're never successful and everyone thinks you're a failure? That's just a thought in that moment. It's just a word in your head. But the second you start to give attention to it and invest in what it's saying, it has now become a story about yourself or who you are. And the further you feed it with this belief and attention, the more powerful it becomes and the more momentum it gets. So it's kind of like you're just adding gasoline to the fire, so to say. A great way to kind of think about it is, if there was a huge explosion behind me right now, immediately I would be like, without a second's thought notice, I would immediately, my attention would be, boom, dragged right to that explosion. And this is what's going on with your mind, is most thoughts kind of like pass, they come, and it's a thought about, oh, what a lovely day, what a lovely tree, oh, this is nice, Those thoughts, they just kind of come and they go. But then all of a sudden, boom, you get hit with a really dramatic thought. Something about your life, a story about how successful you will or will not be. And what happens when you get hit with those doubtful thoughts, fearful thoughts, or negative thoughts, because they're quite dramatic, your attention gets dragged and sucked into the mind. And you become hypnotized. You start getting dragged around like a puppet on a string. And you're going throughout your life thinking about these negative things. So there is a huge freedom and a massive shift that happens in your life when, first of all, you realize that you aren't these thoughts, that it's just the computer brain spouting out its old programming or old software. And also when you realize that you can just stop giving attention to these thoughts and rest as a relaxed and open awareness. And this is incredibly important for creating the reality that you desire, because wherever your attention goes is what you're fueling in your life. It's what you're giving meaning to, belief to. It's what is strengthening negative beliefs about yourself and negative identities that you hold. You ever hear people say, if you focus on fear, then it just grows in your experience and that's what you're creating in your life? Well, that has truth to it. But most people take that understanding and then they try to control the fear, control the negativity. They see the fearful thought come up and then they start to argue with it and get down and dirty with it. But when you understand this deeper truth, that you are naturally this open space that observes everything that's going on in your experience, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, then you realize that what's really happening throughout the day, the reason you're losing yourself as this open and relaxed space, is because you are getting dragged into the mind. You're getting sucked into its story. So just take a moment right now and just, whatever thoughts are arising, whatever you're thinking about, just don't attend to any of them. Just let the thoughts come, let them go, and just let yourself rest as this open space. Now, this open space is actually your natural state, and it's what life is supposed to feel like. But most of the time, like I said, because we don't have any control over our attention, and we're constantly getting dragged into identification with the mind, then we're missing this place within us where we can just rest back and let the mind be as it is. And from this new standpoint, where you realize, okay, I'm not the mind, I'm not the beliefs that I'm holding, you can begin to really direct experience in your identity exactly to where you want it to go. Because when an unwanted thought arises, if you have enough awareness in you to see it coming up and then just let it be there and pass through without following it, then that thought starts to lose all influence over your reality. These thoughts that are coming up against your choosing. So that is really a huge, I think, problem for people when it comes to creating their desired reality, is that people tell them, think positive, but then without them having any control of it, the mind is throwing up negative thoughts the entire day. And instead of just not engaging with the negativity and just resting as you are, being here in the moment, people tend to try to argue with them and try to force positivity over top. And you spend your entire day kind of like lost in your head, trying to think about, oh no, I am positive. Oh no, here's a negative thought. No, that's not true. You know what I mean? So how do you expect to enjoy life and enjoy the moment when you're constantly in your head thinking about it all? And that's really the deeper truth of all this, is what you attract in your life is who you are and your state of being. So if I'm truly just enjoying my day-to-day experience, I'm in the present moment, I'm naturally letting my mind rest on positive thoughts while I'm just not engaging with the negativity, then this is a high state of being to create from. And until you gain control over this attention, you will just continue to be dragged and pulled around by this voice in your head, constantly saying all this random stuff against your control. And like I said, these thoughts aren't even real. They're just computer programs that have been programmed into you over years and years of repetition and engaging with and following these thoughts. Hope this helped.